Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. It is Local Chat, episode 148. And did you know that Ian and I are both sitting here?
Hello, it is I, Ian, and here I sit. Is that a better intro? Will's been grading my intros lately, so is that better? Is that appropriate?
Yeah, that's a much better intro than what I normally give you. Folks, this is Local Chat. Listen. Sometimes you book a guest. Sometimes they don't answer the Discord call.
Wow, just fucking dragging them right out the
And
bat.
you know what?
Crazy.
You know what? I've always hated... No, I'm just kidding. Guest, I assume, is running late, so we're just gonna go forth. Eloangus? What is it? Go forth?
Eloanus?
Eloanus?
Hello.
Hello,
Anus.
That's what I say
Anus.
every day. I bend over in front of the mirror. Hi. Hello, Anus.
Hello, Anus. I'm sorry. I'm having a weird moment, which segues into our topic. Okay, so been prepping like
what's our
crazy for
topic?
Extra Life. Extra Life.
Oh, yeah.
It's on the fucking
I'm not
rundown,
on.
Will.
You know what? Sometimes I forget.
You probably should be. Anyways, prepping for Extra Life. One of the things I need to do is get the PlayStation Classic up and running, and I found some games just laying around completely legally, and I've been stuffing them inside my PlayStation Classic. But the problem is, you have to stuff them through the USB 2 port, which means you get down to just one controller, basically. You know, because of all the games that have been stuffed into the second USB port. And I looked it up, and people were like, "Hey, you just need to like buy this type of USB hub." And that way this USB hub works, so you can go back to having two controllers and play the games that you found, if that makes sense. Just stuffing it in there, Halucha.
Wow.
Stuffing it. Here's the weird thing. I'm sure you've had this before. They said, hey, you should buy this USB hub. And I clicked on it, and it took me to a USB hub on Amazon. And it's like a weird looking little USB hub. It's like a micro USB OTG host hub. So it's a specific type of hub. And I was like, oh, this is weird. And then I saw at the top of Amazon, it says last purchased April 18th, 2018, which is 5.5 years ago. And I'm like, I already own this? What? You ever have that moment?
Yeah, I've done that with stuff where it's like, oh, I should like get back into this hobby I did 5 years ago. And I go to order something. It's like, you already ordered this once, buddy. And you're like, oh,
yeah.
Whoops.
I have that problem where I mistimed it. So right before I finished, right before I came with the hobby, right before I finished, I bought some cool tool or a cool kit or something. And then I got the tool. But by the time I got it, I was kind of done with the hobby and on to the next hobby. So as I'm cleaning my room like I was for Extra Life, I was finding these like hobby making tools, like scribing kits and everything. I was like, oh yeah, I just tried that for 5 minutes and then I never actually used it. And now I own it for like 4 years.
That's why I was so happy when I had a burst of inspiration over the weekend and I needed to paint a minifigure. I was like, I already bought all the tools and shit and got bored. And so now I have them and I just went to town painting. And I was like, perfect. Everything.
Hell
like
yeah.
that. Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
I bought a paint mixer, one of the like vibrating ones. And I tried it out, and I did like 2
Toshiba?
bottles, and it wouldn't.
Or a Hitachi.
And it wouldn't. It's one of those vortex ones, so it's supposed to vibrate, and it makes a vortex to stir the paint together. And it's like made for blood.
Because it's got a little magnet in it. So
Yeah.
you put the magnet in the paint. That's
so,
cool.
yeah. So, I like tried that twice, and then it like didn't. That was when I realized I had to put a ball in there, so I need to now do the ball thing. So anyways.
Yeah.
It was neat. I was gonna return it, but now I'm gonna check it out. The one thing I didn't like was holding my hand on it. I felt like the vibrations afterwards in my hand, and I was like, do I have nerve damage? Like, should I be feeling this, this much vibration afterwards? But it's like, it's kind of like when you have a shitty lawnmower and it vibrates. It's a little bit like that, but for about a minute, 30 seconds.
That was a paint stirrer or paint mixer was one of those projects that I pretty much immediately abandoned because I was like, I was like, man, I need a paint mixer. And I was like, what if I design and build my own, because I have a 3D printer and everything, and I know CAD and I can do electronics and stuff. And I spent about a day and a half designing it. And then I was like, I know myself, and I know that I am both too lazy to finish this and too incompetent to make it work properly. So I was just like, yeah, so now I got 2 hand mixers, but I practice all the time. It's great.
I can't, like, this hurts my arm. I don't like doing that.
I mean, you use slightly larger bottles, right? I'm using I have
the
2.5 mil.
bottles.
The 25 mil. Oh yeah, that's kind of, yours are a little bit bigger than mine. Yeah.
I hate doing the hand mixing. It like hurts my hand, and I feel like that's bad in the long term. So I don't do it.
Anyways, Extra Life. That's our chit chat topic for today's episode. That's right, you guessed it. We have Extra Life this weekend. We've been teasing it. We've been talking about it. You knew it was coming. But Extra Life this weekend, November 18th, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern time. And that's going to go for a whole 24 hours. That's right, 24 consecutive whole hours. We've got lots of stuff planned. We're going to be revealing the schedule and the unlocks this week. I feel like we should tease a little something. I'll start with a tease of one of the unlocks. One of the unlocks is a weird foods tasting, where if we reach a certain amount, we have a whole bunch of food prepared that we are going to eat. So I'll tell you this right now. If we reach $400, we're going to try Oreos and nacho cheese, ketchup and cottage cheese, pickles and peanut butter, strawberries and balsamic vinegar, and Mr. Sim's Black Death sour candy. So that's one of the unlocks I want to tease. I'm not going to tell you all of them. Will, do you have something on the unlock or schedule you want to tease?
Yeah, I love to tease things. Hi, Halucha. Sorry, I didn't have chat up. You're beautiful, wonderful. And the Extra Life exclamation point is working. That's great.
Yeah.
I would like to tease that I will be playing a video game at some point during the event. It's gonna be wild. It's gonna be crazy. No, I have that
fucking coward.
No, I have that Japanese Ultima to show off, and I'm genuinely really excited to play that game because it's not only in Japanese, but the like cutscene at the beginning was animated for like Japanese lip sync. So it's literally like this English soldier, fantasy soldier, just ripping in Japanese, and you're like, "Fuck yes!"
Nice.
It's pretty good, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Shout out to Halucha in the chat who just said watermelon and mustard. So that is going on the list.
You know, I've had watermelon salad with like feta and stuff, so
that's good.
I feel like if you put a tube of watermelon in a hot dog bun and grilled the tube of watermelon, put it in a hot dog bun, put mustard on it, it would taste like a hot dog.
Can I ask you a question? This is a bit of a hot topic in my family.
Oh.
Do you think that cucumbers and watermelon taste similar?
No.
Not at all?
In the fact that they're both watery, but cucumber isn't sweet.
Well, it's more like my father and I believe this. The rest of the family doesn't believe it. That there's that slightly rind taste in watermelon. Like even if you bite in the super sweet part, you still get like a slight rind aftertaste in a way. Mm-hmm. That's the part it shares with cucumber.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, they're probably from the same original plant. I mean, they both have seeds on the inside.
Well, they are the same plant. One's male, one's female.
And one used to make rope.
Yeah, so anyways, Extra Life. I've been super busy. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you the joke ahead of time. So I should have said it last year, but it's been in my back pocket for a year now. And you know what? I'm just going to spoil it. I'm going to say it beforehand. So last year when Will showed up, I took him around the house, and I remember the last thing we got to was the master bathroom. And you had this weird look on your face, and I was like, what's wrong? And you're like, why is it so clean? Like, it's like a rental. Like, do you even live here? And what I should have said is that the truth is it's dirty the entire year. And Maggie and I clean once a year, and it just coincidentally happens to be the week before Extra Life when everybody shows up. So we basically spent the last week like deep cleaning the house, which it needed it for the last year because it's been a year since we did it. And the other thing was we had all these projects that we wanted to do around the house, like paint this, get furniture here, like put that pile of shit away, you know, take that. Like I filled my trunk the other day with stuff that needed to go to Goodwill for like the last 3 months. And so we've just been super busy, like using Extra Life as like the perfect catalyst for us to stop being lazy and finally finish all these different little house projects. So we've been super busy, and Extra Life is like the cherry on top where it's like, I'm done with all that shit. I'm still busy for Extra Life, but it's like friends here. We're having fun. Great cause. Super excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I fly out tomorrow, a couple days early, so we're not
fucking on stream. Get it out of our system.
I was gonna say not as horny on stream. So we'll be setting up.
Yeah. We genuinely needed it last year because you flew in, we started setting up on Thursday, and we had this moment where we were like, oh fuck, this PC is not going to work. And we had to panic a bit and spend that time figuring it out. So it's totally nice that you come down early and help me set up and figure stuff out. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and it lets us like get through, like it gives you an extra day to be like, oh, let's go to Best Buy or something.
Yeah.
And like figure that out. Sorry, Tom's getting back to me.
Well, I'll tell you this while you're distracted.
Yes.
I had a surprise for you last year. This year I have another different surprise.
Uh-oh.
And I'm excited.
You have a surprise for me? You got it pierced.
Yeah. It's a double barbell. X marks the spot.
They put a third ball in. Why is that not a cool thing you can do?
I was going to say, that's a good question. Like, you have to get a third ball installed. It's the same size. It's next to the other two. What material do you want it out of? Like, what do you want it to be made out of, or have it do if you want it to do anything? Hi, David. You joined at the perfect time. Why are we so distracted by chat tonight?
We are very distracted.
Just by chat fucking tonight. Exhausted. Anyways, tell me what games you've been playing.
I have been playing some. I went back to the old well, and I've been playing some RimWorld, which is delicious and good. I forget why. I was just like, I needed a game. I had been playing some World of Warcraft while watching Star Trek, and then I was like, I need something a little less. Not that World of Warcraft takes up that much, but I've been playing Classic where you really have to actually pay attention to it. So I was like, oh, what if I played RimWorld? And so I set up RimWorld. I'm in a climate that's always summer, so I don't have to worry about like heaters. So I'm just like digging into a giant mountain. Or actually, I'm digging into a tiny little mountain and building a little underground base. And then the top half of the map is all mountain. So I'm going to build out a big like cave territory base over there with a nice killing box to kill people. And you know what? RimWorld's good. It's fun. And I figured I would just mess around with it for a little bit. And then the other game I've been playing a lot of is RoboCop. It's so good. It's so much fun. It might be the like perfect B game in the sense of it knows it's a B game. Like it is riffing the RoboCop stuff perfectly. And it's just been a lot of good fun. I think like that game's definitely going to be my top 10 because it is gorgeous. I think it's on Unreal Engine 5. It is gorgeous.
I thought it was 4 because it has the 4 stutter.
Oh, maybe it is on 4. I saw a Digital Foundry video today and I meant to watch it about it, but I didn't get a chance to. But it still has its issues on the Xbox Series X. I don't know about the PlayStation 5, but it's got like texture pop in and a little bit of stutteriness and like not loading issues, but like visual glitches and stuff like that. But I don't actually know who put it together. So I just
it's
feel
the
like
same team that did Terminator Resistance, which got a lot of solid reviews as well. People being like, this is a great Terminator game. It's not a great game, but it's a Terminator game. So yeah. I think they found their their niche, which is like taking themes, IPs, etc., that are underappreciated in the video game space and just delivering just like a solid gaming experience there. Like it's not exceptional, it's not incredible, it's not revolutionary, but it's just perfectly toned and delivered to that IP.
Yeah, and it nails it 100%. So having fun with that. I think I might, during my block on Extra Life, I might play a little bit of that if I can get it downloaded. If not, I'll play something else.
Yeah.
But those are the 2 games I've been playing this week. I've just been watching a shit ton of Star Trek. My technical manual came, guys. Now I can look up things about the ship while I'm watching the episode. I think I was trying to think, is the Star Trek technical manual like the first, like, hey, we're gonna produce a book that is in world, but you can buy it in real life?
So it depends, because that Star Trek Next Generation technical manual is probably from the 80s, right?
Yeah, it's from 90. This is from 91, I think.
Gotcha. Because there was probably a one before that. I just mean Next Generation is probably not the one.
Oh, you mean they might have had one during
the original series? Surely.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, because they had the plans during the original series that I own, so that could be it. But it's a great show. I'm at the end, towards the end of season 3, and it's like the average episode now is between like a 7.5 and a 9. So they're just like banger episode. And you know what? Just had a fantastic episode. And I was like, oh, I wonder who like one of the writers was on it, and it's old Ronnie D. Moore. Is one of the writers.
I didn't know he wrote for that.
He wrote like
special guest.
70 episodes.
Hey guys, I'm so sorry I am so late.
That's okay. That's fine. I'm just gonna pull your video in here.
Have you guys started?
Oh, just a little bit. We were just chit-chatting, doing the little Extra Life plug for this weekend, and then we were shooting the shit about some Star Trek I've been watching.
Oh, very nice. Oh, we're not live to anyone, right? This is just pre-recorded.
Oh, we are live to everyone.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. By everyone, I mean about probably 4 people.
Sure, that's enough.
This show is it thrives on its inability to be good. So,
dude, my podcast is exactly the same.
Folks, Tom is here. Tom Caswell, my
Hello,
beautiful
everyone.
My coworker. He works at GameSpot with me. He does mostly video and a little bit
Definitely
of
gonna file an HR complaint about that.
Yeah, Will and I are lovers. There's no cheating allowed at GameSpot.
You guys, exactly. Yeah, good to be here. This has been a crossover long in the making, and yeah, but it's finally good to be on here.
It's you lie, you don't have to lie, but I appreciate it where it comes from.
No, I've been excited. I have been excited. It is legitimately the truth.
Tom's accent is from Sweden. He's extremely Swedish.
Yeah,
he's like the Swedish. That's rude, Halucha. Don't ask where Tom's accent's from. It's extremely rude. Anyways, moving forward, Ian, this is Tom. Tom, this is Ian.
Nice
The work wife
Ian.
meets the home wife. So is always weird. I just noticed you two have similar hair.
Setup. Yes, we do.
Thank you.
We also have somewhat similar. You have a really nice. I just have started doing some retro collecting, and I just started setting up my consoles. But yours is kind of like what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
With like it, just the yeah, it's great. Love that.
It's all about the chaos.
Right at home.
And then it's like cheap pieces of acrylic plastic, like bent with a heat gun.
Gotcha.
It's like super cheap, but it looks good.
Hell yeah.
Okay, we're getting pressure from the chat. Tom, tell us where your accent's from.
I'm English. It's nothing very too exciting.
See, told you it was lame.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It's boring.
It's the worst. Worst answer. I'm just kidding. Oh, what a train wreck. Folks, we're sorry, I was just wrapping up, Tom, talking about how I've been playing a little bit of RoboCop on the Xbox Series X. It is a wild game that I think nails what it's going for. It runs a little rough on the Xbox, but other than that, I've had no huge issues with it. And then Ian, we can jump over to you while Tom types in. Oh, he's typing in games. Ian, I want to learn all about this game that you've been playing.
Okay, great. I would like to know all about it too, because I've played about 30 minutes of it. So it seems pretty good so far. I've never played a Pikmin before, but honestly, I had zero fucking intention of playing Pikmin. But there were two things that changed that. Number one, little game called Tinykin from last year, which blew my socks off.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
a good game.
Hell yeah, give me more of that. And then also Pikmin 4 is getting a lot of Game of the Year buzz, not as in winning, but a lot of people are like, it's on my list, it's on my list, it's on my list. And so I'm like, okay, all right, I'll give it a shot. And people are like, this is the best Pikmin to try if you've never played Pikmin, etc. So I played about 30 minutes of it. It's pretty cool so far, but I haven't really gotten into the game yet. Like I'm still going through like tutorial stages in a way. So I'm excited to play that. Maybe I'll play a little bit of that on Extra Live Stream this weekend, but we'll see. And yeah, that's pretty much all I've had time for. Tom, what games have you been playing?
It's funny you bring up Tinykin because I really like that game a lot, and but there's something about the aesthetic of Pikmin that is really off-putting to me that I just don't want to engage with that game.
Yep.
Yeah. What have I been playing? I have been basically doing nothing but playing Alan Wake. At work, we have this is a little behind-the-scenes tease, but we'll be having a Alan Wake like story/ending explainer go up this week, and I was like literally the only we have 2 people out on our team for paternity leave right now, basically, and it is one of the busiest times of year because of end of year. So I was the only person who was like free to edit this Alan Wake video, but the problem is I haven't finished the game and I really didn't want to spoil myself. So I have every free second I've had for the last couple of days has been Alan Wake. I'm so deep in the dark place. I finished it this morning. I totally see the hype for this game. It started out, I definitely was vibing with it in the beginning, but I do think that the complaints lobbied against its controlling, specifically when it comes to combat, is a little clunky and it can be a little hard to get into. But because I was playing it so much, I was like so in the zone, and you can upgrade your weapons and things and the characters, so it gets a little bit more manageable. And by the end of it, like that was no longer a complaint. And I mean, it's just unbelievable I don't know if either of you have played it at all, but it's even its simple integration of like there's live action elements, like it goes so much beyond that. It is definitely, it's in my top 3 of the year, I think. I think Baldur's Gate has been pushed out of my top 3 because of Spidey and Alan Wake 2. That being said, I am going back to Tears of the Kingdom right now because I never finished it, and we're actually doing I've spent 100+ hours in it, but then I kind of got to a point where it's like, okay, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. I had 2 of the temples left, like we'll get it wrapped up, and then it was just games. So it was impossible to get back to, and it's really funny because I've started to go back to it because I want to start playing it again before, like at work, we have our end of the year, game of the year conversation and all that. Because I'm like, is this my number one? Like I've played in my brain, it's my number one, but I played so much in the last, couple of months that the feeling of that is worn off a little. And so I wanted to get back to playing it, and I am like a caveman in this game. I can't remember how to do anything. I'm trying to stick things together. I did this. I was like, I want to get up there. All right, simple hot air balloon contraption thing. Oh, it's not getting enough lift. I detached my hot air balloon that had in the bucket like flaming wood. I detached that, and it just went whoop. Goodbye. And I was like, oh no. So I spent like literally like 10 minutes earlier just trying to even get my bearings. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to like relearn this a little bit. So I'm a little worried that this experience is going to throw me off. Hopefully I can get back into it enough to like rekindle that flame. But I don't know. This year's been so good. Anyway, Alan Wake 2, must play. I think that Remedy is now at the top of my list as one of those publishers that I am so hyped for whenever they announce the next thing. They have a couple of projects in the works. Control 2 is one of those, Control being my favorite game of 2019, the year that came out. And obviously they're like interconnected, their stories are interwoven. Yeah, and it is a little spooky. So if you don't like spooky stuff, there are a lot of jump scares and things like that, like specifically woven into the narrative. But I would try and get over them because I think it's one of the most revolutionary video games ever made. I think it's really pushing the technology and medium forward, and especially playing it back to back with Spidey 2, which also like pushes the technology to forward with its fast travel and the speed of which you're moving. All this, like, these two games have been like a real eye-opener for what is even possible this generation, and it makes this generational leap. Like, we're finally in that momentum of like, we're putting the past behind us, we're doing some future shit now. And I can't say enough good things about it. Have you either of you guys played it all or plan to play Alan Wake?
I plan to play it, but it's interesting you bring that point because Alan Wake 2 and Spider-Man 2, they're both next gen only, right? They completely dropped the sandbag of the prior gen. And it feels like with this generation, it has taken way too long for developers to make that commitment to next gen. We've just been dragging those last gen games for too long into this cycle.
I feel like 2 years is pretty average. I also think that the potential of this generation is way higher. Like the gap between like PS4, Xbox One generation to this generation is like so much higher than the PS3, PS4 generational jump. Like, we got the generational jump from PS2 to HD graphics, right? It felt incredibly revolutionary. Then you have PS3 to PS4, which is kind of like a refinement of that, and like a real like push it, and I'm talking about generations, not just PlayStation, right? Feels like a real refinement. And this generation is like the one where we actually have like, we can do some shit with gameplay that you've never fucking seen before. And so it probably heightens that feeling. But to me, like 2-3 years, like, that feels about right. But I'm very excited that we are ditching the past generation. Very happy about that.
But Will, you're planning to play Alan Wake 2, right?
Yeah, I'd started Alan Wake 2, and then Tom at our Halloween party around 2 a.m. convinced me to go back to Spider-Man. So I went back to Spider-Man, and I beat Spider-Man, and then I pulled up Alan Wake 2 again, and I was like, here we go. And then at that time, I was annoyed with my TV because I thought something was wrong with it. And then it turns out I think just my eyes are broken. But I like got tired of playing video games, and so it's been about 2 or 3 weeks of World of Warcraft, RimWorld, reading books, and a little bit of Ocarina of Time.
So no video games at all.
So no video games at all. I've been
just World of Warcraft, one of the most popular video games ever.
I've just been weaning myself off it. It was genuinely like the week after that, I literally did not play any video games. I was just reading.
After Spidey?
After Spidey.
Yeah.
And I was just like, because I had put so much into it, and at the end, and not that the end's bad or anything, it was great. It was a great end of a game, and it was fun, but you just kind of like, it's like at the end of a good book. You just want to keep reading for a bit, because you want that feeling of the culmination. So I took a break to another medium for a bit, and then now I'm back playing RoboCop and a degenerate and not upholding the law. No, I am upholding the law. I'm always upholding the law. Man, in the RoboCop, you went back to the steel mill, and you see your chalk outline of where Murphy was shot, and you're getting like flashbacks and like brain flicker and everything. Oh, it's so good.
Nice.
Game's so good. Nice. It's also terrible. They introduced biker enemies that just bike around the map on like totally fixed routes. And you can just grab them off the motorcycle and throw them at the other people. It's awesome. It's a fantastic video game. I was gonna say Tears of the Kingdom. If you got listen, I thought Tears of the Kingdom, much like Breath of the Wild, ended after the 4 beasts. after the 4 temples in Tears of the Kingdom, you got another like 15 hours. So
it's a lot.
It's so much.
I also have not finished it, and I finished the 4 temples, and then I took a break for a bit, and then I came back to it, and there was probably another 6 hours of gameplay, and I got to a point where they were basically like, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but they were basically like, hey, you can't progress the main story until you clear a whole lot more of the underworld. And I was like, fuck you. And I put it down. And I don't think I'm going to finish it because I barely explored the underworld in the first place. And I know that means I've got like 10, 15 hours left. And I'm just not going to finish it.
You wait about 200 hours in that game for that sick trailer music to drop again, but it is so worth it. It's so I will admit it is so worth it to finish that game.
I'm not too worried about the underworld thing because the depths, right? The depths at first when you first uncover them, I was like, I'm never fucking coming here. And then you realize like, oh, if you want to like get like if you want to be maxing out how to do the builds and stuff, you need to. And so I went back down there kind of regrettingly, and it was this interesting thing with the depths where I kind of learned to love them. There was something like I kind of enjoyed the kind of like dread that it filled me with. There was like a perverse enjoyment about it, and then like clearing out areas. I mean, I just think the game is like so satisfying in that regard in multiple aspects, but the depths really surprised me. Is like, wow, like I kind of learned to love this place, and there's a lot of fun stuff you can do down there. And so I actually ended up clearing out a lot. I remember like kind of going back there and not leaving there for a long time. So I'm not too worried about that, but yeah, I mean, look, this is just, I have a whole 16 hours. Well, we'll see. Sorry, we'll see how it shakes out. You have the final 2 temples and then 16 hours.
Yeah,
no, I've still got the final 2. But I am just wandering around like a baby. Like my muscle memory for the buttons and all of that, especially with Tears of the Kingdom, which is very, it has very unique and very kind of convoluted way to like I was like trying to find something in my inventory. I was trying to find wood, right, to set a fire to create a hot air balloon. And I'm skimming through all of the crap that is that I have, and I'm like, how did I ever navigate this? This game is a fucking UI nightmare. Yeah. And then so, but I really want to get back in the source because I want to recapture that feeling, because at that time when playing it at the height of that, I was like, nothing is ever beating this game.
It was wild.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, do you think it's going how do you think it's going to shake out for the game when it comes to Game of the Year? Like, do you think that sentiment of kind of a reverse recency bias of like there's just been so much good stuff, especially in the last couple of months, and like really, really high praise. Like, do you think that like, because I feel like at the time Tears of the Kingdom was a no-brainer for Game of the Year, despite us knowing that a ton of other good stuff was coming down the line. Now it feels really, I don't know.
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, talking about like my personal Game of the Year and Subpixel Game of the Year, because the Game Awards is a fucking shit show. So who cares what they pick?
Sure.
I think for me, Tears of the Kingdom is a great game, but it's more Breath of the Wild, which was great when it came out, right? It's Breath of the Wild. It's more Breath of the Wild with some extra stuff on top, right? And it's fantastic as a sequel. But then you got Baldur's Gate 3 that comes out, and it's fucking revolutionizing like storytelling and role playing.
Yeah.
And then you've got Alan Wake 2, which I haven't played yet, but appears to just be pushing all sorts of boundaries with what a video game is, how you can mess with the player, how you can present narrative, all sorts of stuff like that. And I think Tears of the Kingdom, again, fantastic sequel. It's doing stuff on top of the original, but I don't think it's pushing the boundaries enough like Baldur's Gate 3 or Alan Wake 2 are. Those are just slightly more revolutionary games, whereas Tears of the Kingdom is evolutionary. Which is
weird. Which is also weird to think about because, there is something about the Ultra Hand mechanic and the building that is revolutionary, especially on that hardware. You know, the amount of developers that were coming out at that time and being like, I don't know how they're even pulling this off. Like, this is this shows a mastery of an engine and like an understanding. And you know, especially with all the layoffs happening this year and looking at Nintendo as a company, like, this is why you get such incredible games, is because you retain talent that has years of experience with this stuff, and they're able to squeeze every last drop of juice out of their stuff. So there, I would hesitate to agree with you on the not revolutionary front, but I also at the same time do feel that it is kind of you know, and maybe this is like, you know, it kind of feels like seamless, whereas like the revolutionary aspects of Baldur's Gate and Alan Wake are very apparent constantly. Like Alan Wake, the atmosphere that it presents is just like consistently like, I'm just in awe. And Baldur's Gate, the amount of, and I think the other thing that works in favor of Baldur's Gate, Starfield fucking sucked. But Baldur's Gate,
for sure.
like that really put into perspective how far and away ahead of the inventors of like player choice RPGs, like how far Larian has leapfrogged. But that was a constant thing of just constantly being surprised at what I could do. So I think their surprises are more obvious and more kind of continuous. But yeah, I agree. I don't think it's as much of a lock. I do think Baldur's Gate has a really good shot of sweeping. And that, I honestly feel that Alan Wake could really, like, maybe it's going to get a lot more Game of the Year wins than you think. And I think Tears of the Kingdom is going to the percentage of Game of the Years it's going to win, I think is going to, like, if I went back in time 6 months and told people like, oh, it's 10%, it's going to win 10%, maybe, I don't know, I'm just pulling out a number, or whatever that number is, I think will have blown our minds that the games this year are going to be so fucking good. Like, this game is going to, anyway.
I was just going to say, I think another way I was thinking about it is like Alan Wake 2, nothing like the original Alan Wake, really, as far as gameplay wise. Completely different games is a sequel. Tears of the Kingdom, an evolution of Breath of the Wild. In my opinion, I wouldn't want to go back to Breath of the Wild, because I would miss all the stuff in Tears of the Kingdom. I'd rather play Tears of the Kingdom. What was the other? Baldur's Gate 3. Completely different. It's mostly different game for Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. Still an RPG, still choices, revamped engine, all this sort of stuff. Now, my hesitation is, I loved Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 was great, but I think it is the most sequel of all of those games. It is essentially the first Marvel Spider-Man and Miles Morales put together into Spider-Man 2. I'm sure if I went back and played Spider-Man 1 or Miles Morales, there are things I would miss from Spider-Man 2, but I don't think it is as egregious as if I went to play Alan Wake 1 expecting Alan Wake 2, or playing Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom. So I think that's kind of where I'm landing as far as Game of the Year. Like, not that it's a measure against what came before, but as far as like that sort of, is it doing something completely new? I think Spider-Man 2, I loved it way more than I like Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales, but I think it did everything those games did, but perfectly, rather than evolving and changing the game from Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales.
It is funny you say that, because, you know, in 2018, after I played the first Spider-Man, I would have said that's the perfect Spider-Man game. There's no way you can finesse this anymore, make it more fun, like, and it has the same effect that Tears of the Kingdom has, where there's no way in hell you'd catch me playing Spider-Man 1 again. Like, the improvements that they make in Spider-Man 2 are, I think, so substantial. The quality of life stuff is so substantial in that game that, yes, it is just like perfecting all of those little elements, but together they make for, I think, like a sequel that from a technical standpoint, like, stands way above the first game's shoulders, which is surprising because that game still impresses compared to a lot of other stuff. But I don't think Spider-Man has a shot. It could maybe have a shot for like a best narrative category and a best, action adventure game or whatever action game. I don't know what category it is, but
side scroller.
Oh, dude, let's get
swinger.
back to there was some fantastic Spider-Man side scroller games back in the day. Let's get another one of those. Let's get Return of the Sinister Six, Ooze of the Symbiote on GBA, made by Acclaim.
I just think about I think the thing that always gets me is, do you remember how many Game of the Years Deathloop won? And I'm just going to say it. It wasn't because Deathloop was the best game of the year. It's because it was the best game that the most people played.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm starting to think with the games of the year that we have this year, I think going by that logic, I don't think Baldur's Gate makes it because there's a lot of people that are not even trying Baldur's Gate or it's not hitting for them. I'm not sure Alan Wake 2 sticks with that logic either. So at that point, it's either Tears of the Kingdom or Spider-Man, just because you're going to have more people who have played those and are willing to vote for it. I don't know. Is that concern kind of making sense to you guys?
No, that I do think that one thing that Tears of the Kingdom has in the favor is that it is probably other than Spider-Man, the most played. Oh, well, actually, at this point, definitely more than Spider-Man. They've sold like 20 million copies. So maybe it does have a bit of a boost of like a lot of people got to play it, whereas Spider-Man came out during a hectic time. If we're specifically talking about like votes at different outlets and stuff, where it's people reviewing and playing games constantly, maybe you didn't get around to Spidey, maybe it was down on your list. And so maybe Baldur's Gate, it's that funny because, in our circles, like Baldur's Gate is so ubiquitous, everyone we knew played it. Like everyone we knew like was blown away, but in a more kind of broader sense, that game is probably the least popular by terms of sales out of a lot of the games in this category. It probably beats Alan Wake if we're talking about Game of the Awards nominees, right? Alan Wake, does it beat Mario Wonder? I don't know. Like in terms of sales, probably not. So it'll be interesting. I'm actually very excited because I thought Tears of the Kingdom would kind of have a lock at the end of the year, despite knowing how the rest of the year was going to be. But man,
even at the beginning of the year, I played, and I do want to get back to it because it was fun. Hogwarts Legacy, I probably have about 8 hours into that, and like at the time when that came out, despite how awful everything around it is, and all that stuff. I had a fun time with that game, and I was really enjoying it. And I was like, "Oh, this could easily be in my top 10 probably this year." And
Interesting.
I'm not even sure if it would even crack it now. Maybe it's like a 10, but
yeah, it's like the opposite of last year. Remember, last year was Elden Ring came out early. It was the juggernaut. Nothing came close to it.
There was nothing that could stop it. Yeah.
And as somebody who I think Elden Ring's a great game, but it didn't land. It didn't land as heavy for me as it did for everybody else. I was waiting for something else to come out where I'm like, okay, that's the juggernaut. That's what I'm fighting for against Elden Ring because I could get behind it. But the fact of the matter, there wasn't anything that could clearly stand toe to toe with it and challenge it. And even though our Subpixel Game of the Year last year was Pentiment, it was a heavy discussion all the way to the end. And that's a Subpixel pick. Like I'm not expecting that to be the mainstream game of the year. It's like the opposite this year where it's like every fucking month a game comes out and it's the new game of the year. And then the next month some other game comes out and that's
every
the new
week,
game of the
honestly.
year.
Like Alan Wake 2 and Spidey were a week apart. Mario came out the same day as Spidey 2. And all three of those games are up for, at the Game Awards Game of the Year. That like it was every week for like 2 months. It felt like.
Yeah. And you want to know what's fucking crazy?
Yeah.
That fucking Avatar game actually looks like it might be good.
I don't know. It's
looks like Far Cry.
But it feels like
I'm really curious. I'm really curious.
It feels like 90% of games that are coming out are actually fucking delivering. Even if they're just like, it looks like a 7 out of 10, and guess what? It fucking delivers a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Whereas it feels like every other year, whenever a game came out, it was -2. It looked like a 7 out of 10. Well, it's a 5 out of 10. It looked like a 10 out of 10. Well, really, it's an 8 out of 10. Yeah. This year's fucking crazy. Just the amount of games being delivered.
That Avatar game, I'm sorry. I love Far Cry. Far Cry 2, probably one of my favorite games of all time. Far Cry 3.
I love Far Cry. That Far Cry from the mid 2000s. I love that game.
Far Cry 3 revolutionized it. Far Cry 4 was still good. 5, we had some fun on stream. 6, I purchased, and I don't know why. I think I expensed it at work there.
Six is a really lackluster one for me, I think.
Yeah.
And then it was like, let's go somewhere cool now, and they pick the worst sci-fi world ever invented and put it on Pandora and Avatar. And
Not an Avatar fan.
Oh, I hate Avatar. It's so stupid. I hate the blue people. They're hideous and they're ugly. And if you want to call me a space racist, do it, because there's 20 more Star Trek ugly races that look way better. Species, sorry.
Look, I would totally was on the Avatar hate train, and then before 2 came out last year, they re-released the first one in 4K in cinemas, and I was like, I haven't seen this movie since it came out. I've seen it one time, and I saw it at release, and it was so popular to hate on Avatar, and I just was like, yeah, the movie fucking sucks. I watched that first Avatar movie. I'm like, look, does it feel like it's from the 80s in terms of like storytelling and dialogue and all of that? Yes. That to me is a part of its charm. Even Avatar Way of Water is like the hokiest shit ever. But it like I feel like it's so earnest and like totally worked for me. So that rewatch of Avatar 1, I was like, I'm blue pilled.
You know,
like I'm into it. And then I watched Way of Water, and I was like, you know what? Especially with the state of blockbuster cinema as it is, with like just bloated blockbusters and things like the MCU like really not hitting, like we're just not getting anything. Like there was an appreciation of what Avatar was doing, and like one man's vision, and he was fucking making it, and he was able to make it. Like there was appreciation of it. So I'm like in two minds about this Avatar game. I'm excited about it because I'm excited to experience that world as a game. I think there's a lot of fun stuff you can do. But I am with you, Will, that I'm looking at that game and I'm like, every time I see a game that looks like Far Cry recently, I play it and I'm so fucking disappointed because I'm like, so we'll see. We will see. We will see.
I think Avatar does deserve a rewatch. I'm a huge 80s movie person, like literally rewatched Commando again the other weekend.
Did you not watch Way of Water?
I haven't seen Way of Water.
You should give Avatar another chance. I'm telling you, I think you're gonna like it.
I've seen Avatar on an iPod Touch in about 2014, so I'm willing to give it a second chance.
Let me echo what Tom said though, which is that I did the exact same thing. I waited to see Way of Water until it came out on 4K Blu-ray, and like 2 weeks before I rewatched the first one, and I hadn't seen it since it came out. And the thing that really struck me about both those movies is that they're just solid fucking movies, right? They're like, we're gonna have solid characters, we're gonna tell a solid story, and we're gonna do it like great the whole way in terms of like great filmmaking, great cinematography, great action sequences. And that is so fucking different from today's Marvel infested box office, where Marvel movies are literally just, okay, we're gonna come up with 5 different action set pieces and 2 character moments, and then we just fucking do bullshit in between them to get to the next one. And it leads to shitty movies, and we're just saturated with that nowadays. And having Avatar, which is like an actual fucking story driven movie with like compelling characters, it's not amazing, it's not like a perfect movie or anything, but it's like you said, it feels like going back in time to when they made competent fucking action movies.
It actually reminds me of what you brought up with like you saying like this game, like every game is nailing what it should nail. Like it's a 7 out of 10, but it's fucking nailing that 7 out of 10. And a 7 out of 10 is sometimes what you want. Like Avatar is not trying to be high cinema. It is trying to be a modern action film that harkens back to all of the kind of like tropes of the heyday of action movies, right? And like all of the stuff that like James Cameron's just never changed as a filmmaker. He's just his movies have just gotten more expensive, but his taste has stayed the same. And when you watch it through that lens, it's it's just such an enjoyable time. Anyway, I'm really excited. Will, you got to watch them, and I got to come back on because I'm excited to hear about how you feel.
I just think the Na'vi are so hideous.
Honestly, I agree with you.
If they were humans, I'd be all on board.
I'm not into that shit at all either, but it's so well done that you're like, okay, I'm on board with this. I will say, okay, Tom,
wait till you see Zoe Saldana in 2, because she might start doing some stuff for you.
Boner alert.
Okay, that did not happen. It did not happen to me. But did you find it weird?
Okay.
Did you find it weird in Way of Water when
your pants were wet afterwards?
Sully becomes like a slightly abusive, like American military dad, where he's like
everything to do with Sully's son. Sully, yeah. I was thinking of the bad guy and his and Spider.
No, I'm talking about the hero like bullying his children into using military slang, and it was like, oh, this is not a good relationship here.
Well, it's again, I mean, it is a movie that is evoking a completely different era of time. There is
that's true.
Several lines of dialogue in that movie where I'm like, did you come from the year 1980 and like, did you write this and somehow like do an Alan Wake, like I'm in the dark place, I'm writing this, but it's in the future, but I'm in the past, like there's some time twisty, like time isn't working correctly when you wrote the script, you came out, oh, it's 2023. Because there are
for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's he just like was like, oh, here's the script. I do agree. There's a lot of stuff in that movie that feels very much like that, where you're like, oof. Yeah. But good film. It's good. Enjoyable film.
It's good.
It's the
a lot of people hated the like Australian whaler. I love that villain. They've talked about him coming back.
There's a whaler?
Because it's all about the water people and the way that they're hunting Sully, and they think that he's going to live. And
wait. This is how we get Will. Will, there's a fucking awesome future ship in this movie. It's fucking incredible.
Yeah, and he's the captain, and like that they go aye and all this. Like,
that's how we got him.
Yeah, and they're whalers because they're going to use like these space whales. Don't call them whales in front of Jim Cameron though, because he doesn't like you calling them whales.
What does he call them? Space crustaceans or something?
No. They have a specific
space stations.
Name.
That's the card from Galactic Empires.
Dude, the action. Fuck, I'm gonna go watch Way of Water right after this. It's so good. But yeah. Anyway. Let's talk about video games.
Well, James, if you want to write in, let us know your thoughts. God, fuck. Okay, it's time for the news, which means I get to play the news theme. Here we go! It's time for the news. God, that's so sexual. Folks, it's time for the news, and if you've ever heard the news theme before, you know that's the time when we talk about the news. Ian Gibson, you have written here something about Remedy, the makers of Alan Wake 2. Would you like to tell the class about it?
Maybe. I barely read this, but this is a press release from Remedy. Quote, Remedy Entertainment plans to reboot Codename Vanguard to a premium game with a strong cooperative multiplayer component, end quote. So I believe this was previously the free-to-play cooperative multiplayer game they announced they were working on, but I believe they're rebooting it. The thing I'm not clear in here is are they saying there's a single-player component to this as well? I don't know if you guys...
I mean, there may be, right? They're going back to kind of the drawing board with the game and going back to a concepting phase. They're scaling down the team. They're moving like team members that were on it to other projects, so it's going to be a smaller team. So whatever form it's going to be, I don't even think they know that yet. It just will have a multiplayer component. But this originally was going to be a multiplayer. I mean, I guess you could maybe have played it solo, but it sounds like it was a very like, if you're playing it solo, you're playing like multiplayer missions. Like you're not playing story campaign, or you'd be playing things that are designed to have other people being played with. To jump off on this, I'm so fucking happy to hear that. Like, I am so, you know, with trends and fads, you know, battle royale, extraction shooters, free to play in general, like the ramp up of them feels so quick. Like, oh, everyone's now got a fucking free to play battle royale, multiplayer, live service, battle pass thing now, and the death of them feels so slow, and you're just like shaking developers. Like, I'm shaking Sony. Like, what are you doing, you fucking idiots? You're fucking it all up. You had such a good thing going with your single player fucking games, and your Last of Us multiplayer game could have been a fun thing that we played for like a month, but you needed to make it like Destiny, and now it's never coming out, you fucking idiots. Like, that's what I'm doing with Sony. And they seem to be seeing a little bit of the light because they've like delayed like half of that release. Like only half of the amount of games they planned are actually going to come out in the time period they said they would. So to hear like a studio and be like, you know what, we've read the tea leaves. We don't think that this project is going to survive as live service, but we can like create a premium product that, you know, I'm so fucking thrilled to hear that Remedy is going to be doing that, because the possibility of multiplayer with Remedy's like game ethos and design and mechanics is so exciting. But then like having the dreaded specter of gas, you know, games as a service over it, I'm sure that it would have been, I mean, hopefully it would have been good in that form, but I know that it will be good in a premium form where they're charging players for it, and it's not got a bunch of bullshit. What are your guys' thoughts?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. This is them taking this from what felt like a side project. Like, hey, I think the best example I can think of is, do you guys remember Battlefield Heroes, the like cartoony free-to-play version of Battlefield that came out in like 2010-ish? Like, they were just like, hey, we should do a free-to-play Battlefield, and it's going to be like pretty mediocre. We're barely going to put effort into it, and we're just going to put it out in the marketplace for a couple years and see if we make money on it. Guess what? We didn't. Okay, kill it off. Like that, it felt like that was kind of the class of game they were thinking originally, where they're like, this is a side project. But I'm glad that it feels like they found something worthwhile in that proof of concept phase, where they basically said, no, this deserves more time in the oven. It deserves more hands-on treatment, and we're going to move it from the side project category into the premium game category. Yeah. And exactly like you, that means more attention from Remedy, and that means we're going to have a better end product, hopefully, than we would have if it was continuously treated like a side project.
I think it's funny that your perspective of it was, or it's interesting that your perspective of it was that it would be a side project. I never got necessarily that read. But I do agree with the fact of like, they saw something in it to know that it would be spoiled if they made it a free to play where they're adding microtransactions and all of that, and better to like just have the customer pay up front for a product that's worth it. And then they don't have to have like this experience muddled with, I mean, look, I'm sure that there will be microtransactions in the game. Like, I'm sure that you'll be able to buy skins or whatever the fuck this thing turns out to be. But it won't be like we have to have a season. Like, we have to have content all the time, and you have to have here's a battle pass. And when you boot the game up, you're going to go through 5 different shops and 5 different like when I boot up this new fucking Call of Duty game, when I boot this fucker up, there are like 5 things that pop up trying to and it's all like discount, like slash through, like half off COD points, and like I'm like, just put me in a fucking match. Oh my god, Call of Duty, man. Yeah. Don't get me started on this franchise. They have ruined this fucking thing. Hopefully they can right this ship.
Yeah, I tried to stream. So I streamed Call of Duty 1 this past weekend for Veterans Day, which is either a terrible or a great idea, but we did it anyways.
Wait, the very first Call of Duty?
The very first Call of Duty, which is fantastic. But the problem, I ran into the problem you're talking about, which is I was like, don't I have this game purchased on Steam? And I looked it up, and I looked up Call of Duty on Steam, and it was like, yeah, Call of Duty's in your library. Call of Duty. And I was like, wait, do I have this already installed? And I clicked on it. It's the fucking Modern Warfare 2 launcher.
Yeah, the HQ like, or whatever. Yeah.
It's like, fuck you guys. You know, they're just like, they're trying so hard to, I don't want to talk about Call of Duty too much, but it's like they're trying to coalesce into a single package that they update every year, which I think is a good idea, but they keep fucking releasing it as a $70 release every year without the $70 worth of attention there. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Commit or not? and it's fucked up.
Yeah, the idea of there being like a hub thing that is just constantly being updated, and like maybe there's a new campaign every year that they drop in. You pay like $30 for the campaign or something. Like that's a great idea. The problem is that, like you said, they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, and they're trying to build it off of the old design instead of being like, we're starting from scratch. Here's a launcher. It's like, no, we're just gonna like malform the Modern Warfare launcher and just like tack shit onto it, and it's not gonna work. It's not gonna be clean. Like, I was in Modern Warfare 3 when we got code for it. I was in that game, and every time I booted it up, the first thing that popped up was buy Modern Warfare 3. Like, that was the first
Fucking
of the sales banners that popped up, was like, you should buy the upcoming game. I'm like, I'm in it right now. I'm literally in it.
Jesus.
Fuck Activision. I'm so fucking mad. Hopefully we can they get fixed, and those fucking developers don't have to. Oh. I'm not usually this angry, mate. I'm not usually. I feel like I've been quite angry on this one.
That's what we do on this show.
Yeah.
Honestly, we just get pissed at everything.
Coming in hot. Coming in hot.
Sorry, I was looking up this. I was confusing this Remedy game with the Condor, which is the Control game with
sequel.
505.
Yes.
So it is not that game. Which I just realized that Control.
They have like 4 projects in the works or something like that. It's crazy.
That Condor prototype image has a clock that looks like the clock lady from Loki season. I don't know if she's in season 2, but from season 1.
She is. Spoiler alert.
Oh, wow.
Sorry.
Let's spoil it. Anyways, moving on here. Roundup for the little. Why is there? Who put a roundup for the indies in here? It was nothing. There's nothing in that indie show today that was worth talking about.
Why would
missed
you
it,
even? So there was
dare?
nothing.
Why would you even? I mean, there were some cool looking games, but we'll just wait until they come out, and then we can talk about them then.
That's
or
fair.
Someone will tell us about them.
That's fair.
Like someone who has a
I
refined.
downloaded a demo for Howl. That came out.
Howl.
His Moving Castle.
Yeah, it was one of the. It was just Howl, and not Howl from Howl's Moving Castle.
Damn,
Yeah, Howl. It was one of the indie games shown off today. It came out today, and there's a demo, so I downloaded that. But I ended up fumbling my way through Tears of the Kingdom instead.
Classic.
Yeah, classic. So, Nindy Showcase or Indie World or whatever. Yeah, I mean, the moment they announced that, I was like, all the fucking Silk Song people gonna come out.
Yeah,
they're gonna come out the woodwork. They'll be like, "Do you hear the people?" You know what I mean? Like they're like it's time.
Tug
it's
on their little cocoon, get way too excited, shoot silk everywhere. You know,
my God, what is wrong with you?
Yo, Cocoon, another fucking great game. That's probably in my top 10.
I hated it.
You hated Cocoon?
I couldn't sleep, so I got up at 4:30 in the morning and I played through all of Cocoon, and I didn't hate it. I just thought it was really easy and kind of lame.
I love. Well, honestly, I think that the easiness of it is actually part of the charm. I like the fact that it kind of was.
But then don't call it a puzzle game. Call it a walking simulator with inconveniences.
I mean, there were puzzles in there. I love how Will, this episode has just shown clearly that the things he hates are because he interacts with them in the most inopportune way. He's like, yeah, I watched Avatar on an iPod Touch, and I played Cocoon. I couldn't sleep one night, and I played Cocoon until the sun rose, and I fucking hate myself.
Hey, I watched The Matrix on an iPod Touch too, and that movie is sort of okay. So.
No, don't even fucking start. The first Matrix?
Yeah.
We're not even going to get into
also,
it.
all of these movies are in
story?
15-minute increments on like a website that you'd have to like load the different parts of the movie.
On the
my
iPod
God.
Touch. Jesus Christ, that's
right,
not worth it. At least like watch a Yiffy rip or something. Even that's better.
Someone posted a really funny thing when Netflix kicked their base plan down to like 720. Like, I don't know if that actually happened or not. but I guess it will maybe even just flirting with the idea of like, oh yeah, base plan's gonna be 720p. Someone was like, "You think 720p is gonna stop me, motherfucker?" In the back in the day, I watched anime in like 6 parts.
Yeah.
It was a 240p rip, and like it had scan lines on it. You know, like
It was
I
all
can
real-
fucking do it.
And it was
It's a
zoomed
real
in.
media player format, so you had to
Yeah,
download real
yeah,
media.
yeah.
I
Oh
was
my
watching
God.
on my Pocket. I was watching the like Nickelodeon 2-in-1 carts with like 2 episodes of SpongeBob
Yes.
on it, and they
Yeah.
have a bunch of like Yu-Gi-Oh ones too. And I'm like, I'll watch Yu-Gi-Oh on a Game Boy. Like,
Was this? Was that for GBA?
yeah, for the Game Boy
Yeah,
Advance,
it's
they would
interesting.
sell like
carts with
carts.
episodes on them.
I forget what
Oh
they
my
called
God,
it.
I might do that just for shits.
I-
What was the quality like? Because you've got the really nice screen on the Pocket.
It was aw. I mean,
Yeah.
the pixels look really good, but it's like, it's like, it must be what 260? Is that what
It was
it
for-
is? It's got
Yeah,
be something like that.
360, maybe
320
not
by
even
240
that.
or something.
Or two,
Yeah.
yeah, it's got to be something like that. It's
Yeah, it
rough,
would
and
be
I don't even
240
think
half the
it's
480.
I don't even think they could do like 30-minute. They must have been only allowed 22 minutes because I think it was like the 2 episodes of SpongeBob that were in a 22-minute episode of
Oh,
SpongeBob.
right, yeah, because they would split the episodes in half.
Yeah,
Right.
I should check that. But yeah, they have
I'm
a
gonna
bunch
download them.
When I
That
like
sounds
ripped
fun.
all of my
Yeah.
carts that I own legally to put on
Yeah.
my analog pocket in
Uh-huh.
those repositories I
that.
built from my rips. You
Yeah.
see my collection, Tom.
I mean, I have. Yep.
I think.
I mean, I have. I didn't.
a lot
I
of
didn't know
those.
the SpongeBob.
Yeah, I
see
didn't
the
show you
SpongeBob
that.
cartridges.
Yeah.
The shelf
They was-
opens. There's a room behind it.
There's
I
a
didn't take
secret
you in.
compartment. That's where
Yeah.
I keep all of the SpongeBob episodes on
Yeah,
GBA.
yeah. That's where Gail lives. She catalogs those.
They're
for
actually
me.
worth a lot of money, so
Yeah.
they're you wouldn't think it, but
She's a train
anyway.
ninja. Yeah, so that's anyways, new SpongeBob episodes coming to your Switch, announced on the Nindies today, so get excited for that. Are we talking about these Game Award nominees?
I mean, I think we already kind of touched on Goaties, but we could talk about Dave the Diver and how that's somehow nominated for a fucking indie award, which is insane. You guys aware of that controversy?
Speaking
Well,
of
are we
games I
aware of
didn't
it?
like.
We're fucking so deep in the middle of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, because like one of the on Friday I do a time to plug my show. One of the shows I do for GameSpot is Spot On, which is where they kind of do like it's a weekly news show, and this week's chat is all about the whole indie debate. So we've had a lot of meetings about it and stuff. So yeah, no, I'm very very intimately familiar. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that look, do I think that we can be a bit nebulous about the term indie? Like, you know, some people argue that even having a publisher would disqualify you. And then you do look at something like, by the true definition of the word, Baldur's Gate 3 is an indie game. Would you put it in this category? I don't know what the direct answer of that is. But I am kind of like, well, I do kind of draw the line at a studio that was created by a giant multi-million, maybe even multi-billion dollar conglomerate, simply to spit out games that evoke what we would traditionally call the indie style. And nothing against these devs, nothing against this game. I played a bit of it. It's not for me, but I know people love it, and I think that I can see why people love it. But especially because, like, it's not even the indie category, it is the independent category, and its subheading is like a game made out of the traditional like game development structure.
Yeah. For outstanding creative
Yeah.
and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system.
So none of that is like true about this game. Like none of the way that they describe what the category is. If they were like, it's a non-AAA game, it's a non-big budget game, if they said something like that and that's how they were describing it and it was just called indie, I think you got a bit of wiggle room. But the way that they title it and describe it is like emphatically not this fucking game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's I think like the spirit of the category to me is let's celebrate the little guy.
Yeah.
This is not a little guy. It looks like a little guy, it walks like a little guy, it talks like a little guy. But guess what, folks? It's not a fucking little guy. There's a shitload of support and money behind them. and we should really be supporting like true indies. Like, you know what? I'll fucking say it, Factorio. Like that's very small team, you know, indie, straight to publish on Steam, etc. Like that's an indie game. It's the little guy, and that's what upsets me about this is like this game does not. I don't want to say doesn't need the support because that's not the intent of this category, but you're not celebrating the indie nature of this game in terms of what they were able to accomplish with a small team, small
100%.
budget,
Yeah.
etc. That's not what this game is. It's a fun game. That's not what it is.
I also think that, like, I think it is important also to have this conversation because I do think it sets a dangerous precedent because I think the games going forward are going to be similar to what we have seen with movies in the sense of like, unless you, I mean, this isn't even true anymore with the Marvels, but you know, and like the MCU underperforming, but like, let's say Marvel was still performing it the way it was. Unless you are a Marvel, unless you are this big IP, you have no room, or you're James Cameron, you have no room to perform at that level. So the successful studios like the A24s, who are producing way lower budget films, and they're not making as much as a Marvel movie, but they're making a much bigger like multiplier on the return. And so I am a little concerned that these indie games, you know, some of them break out, right, and become really big, or you even have like, I don't even know if you'd consider like, well, yeah, Hades would, fucking Supermassive, Supergiant are exclusive, are independent, right? Like they do their own shit. Anyway, you have these indie breakouts, and now I think that some game developers, bigger game developers, are going to be like, oh, we can take like a small team. You know, as much as I love Pentiment, it is the idea of like, and with Game Pass, it's all weird, but it is like, cool, we can throw whatever money at that. Like, it's going to cost like $5 million to make. We'll shit that out in a day. I think you are going to see more publishers kind of play a little fast and loose and like kind of be a little sneaky and be like, we're going to make a studio and make these boutique games, but we're going to have such massive support behind the marketing and like all of that. So the games that could have that spotlight that are made by the actual indie developers are going to maybe get pushed out. And so I do think it is important to have the conversation because it could set a bad precedent going forward.
But you say that, I don't think that's a bad scenario though, because what you described is different from the modern box office where you have these giant studios and they won't take the risk. They won't say, why the fuck would I spend $5 million on a little, they don't support these little tiny projects anymore. Yeah. So I think that is a worse scenario than what we have nowadays where the indies are true indies. But, you know, if you have a giant publisher and they're willing to spend $5 million on somebody's weird little idea like Pentiment, that's still pretty good.
No. I have absolutely no problem like that happening, and I do think that that's good. I think it also makes perfect business sense to make a smaller, more compact games that are really good, fundamentally great gameplay, and you know, I think business-wise it makes a ton of sense. So I think it's a positive thing. I think just the if we are starting to award like the indie game of the year to these, you know, to Sony, you know, and Microsoft, then like that will have negative repercussions for the actual actual indie developers. And so it's only really coming at that from an angle. But I think David Diver is a good game. I think it was a smart business decision by Nexon, and they should make more games like it. But I didn't even know that Dave the Diver was not an actual indie game until this debate started. Same. I had no idea about Nexon, any of this. And people were like, Dave the Diver's not an indie game. I was like, yes, it is. It looks like one. And I was like, oh, no, it's not.
Exactly.
I think you could easily have a, like, small team game, like, best small team game. So you could have a thing where, like, Dave the Diver's up for that, or, like, something else is up for that, even though it's, like, under 10 people worked on this game or something like that. And then some company does the loophole where they hire 10 people, then fire them all and hire 10 new people. And that's how they get around. And then you got this game made by 100 people, but only 10 at a time.
I also, please go ahead.
So I was going to say, but just kind of continue down this discussion and shift it slightly. I do have anxiety about the current state of the Hollywood box office because it has this problem much worse, which is that they are only throwing money and effort behind big budget movies based on established IP. Now that, especially now that WB has figured out a tax loophole where essentially they can throw money at a movie, and if it doesn't test well, they can still get a lot of that money fucking back as a tax write-off and just never release it. And because of that, they're just not spending any money on small games. We don't have that problem in the games industry, and it's because there's less control over the distribution to the consumers. So think about fucking Vampire Survivors. $2. No, actually, it started at 99 cents, right? 99 cents. $2 indie game straight to Steam that fucking blows up. PUBG, you know, a mod based off of etc. things, indie mod, standalone game fucking blows up and changes the industry. Like, we are in a much better place in the games industry because no matter what happens, you can still be an indie studio that puts out a fucking incredible game and have it hit and take off because you don't have to necessarily go through these giant publishers. And to your point, I think encouraging publishers to go down this indie route is empowering those publishers in a way that we don't necessarily want to see. We want to keep the games marketplace open and free like it is right now.
100%. Yeah.
I feel like it's smart. Sorry. You go.
No, that was it.
That was it?
That was like good point. Yeah.
Oh,
good
yeah.
point.
I think that's... I was going to... You know what? It doesn't happen often, but sometimes it makes a good point. And it pains me to say it, but it does. And you know, thinking about it, the way you're saying it earlier, why wouldn't you invest... Like, instead of investing $200 million in the next Marvel movie, $5 million in 40 different projects with the chance of one of those of making 10 times that amount, you know?
Well, it's because you built the entire fucking box office system to shit on the $5 million movies. So even if the $5 million movie is fantastic, it will not make its money back because of how you built the system. Whereas in the games industry, it will make its money back easily.
Yeah, we should rebuild that system. You know what?
I mean, you know, to be, it's not the same, but you know, what does, you know, there's rumors, or maybe it's confirmed, I don't know, but like the Blade movie, for example, they've like completely pivoted it to like sub $100 million, like, so we're probably like not gonna have like a ton of shitty CG. They'll probably try and do stuff as like in camera as possible. So I'm not saying that there's a wave of now studios like scaling back and stuff, but yeah, it's interesting to think about the fact that it's just way harder to get your film in front of an audience versus a game. Like there's so many more and better avenues for games than movies.
I was gonna say, you know, and it is, Ian, you're right. It is a box office thing because even to some extent TV shows and short form YouTube. Yeah. I mean, look at Dropout. Look how well they've done in the streaming economy and made their own mark. I feel like them and like, I mean, Quibi's doing great. So like people like them are really
Go 90.
Yeah. E-Bombs World. No, but it's funny how much of that is just targeted. I mean, I guess the other scene is music to some extent, might be the more closer to us than
Bandcamp's basically gone.
Yeah.
Hey, go to Spotify, get 1 million listens, and make $5.
Yeah, that's wild.
So we're, as much as we love to bitch about this industry, the games industry, we're actually doing pretty good compared to all the other major media industries.
No, I'm allowed to be angry. I hate everything. Moving on here.
That's my role.
Speaking of hating the game industry, first of all, I meant to take this off of here, but this GTA 6 publisher believes games should be priced per hour. Is an article about Strauss Zelnick of Take-Two Interactive. First of all, I was going to take this off here because it absolutely is not. I mean, it is what he's saying, but it's not what he's saying. His quote basically boils down to, and I can read the quote in a sec, basically boils down to how the fact that people get enjoyment from video games per hour, basically, while you're playing it, and that $60 or however much the fixed price for a game is in most cases less than what the per hour payment of that game would be worth if you were paying per hour. And you know what? Totally agree with you. It is a fantastic deal. Where I don't agree, and this isn't the point they're making, if they started actually making you pay per hour for a video game, I would not be paying that and thus not be playing video games. So it's like, it's a hypothetical, because yes, the pay per hour is very high, but if you went and actually did that, no one would be playing that game, thus it would not be earning that much money.
I don't know. I mean, as somebody who likes to bail, okay, there's a question here, which is, going down this hypothetical, how would they actually price it? They would say this game's 70 hours long and you have to pay $70, or is it you pay for each hour you play? I hope it's the second, because there's one of the guilty pleasures I have is picking up a brand new game, playing it for an hour or two, and then being like, nope, fuck this game, I don't like it, and then dropping it. If I could pay $2 to sample all the fucking AAA games until I found one that I loved, I would gladly, I would fucking gladly,
because it wouldn't be that. It would
$1 per hour of the actual enjoyment I got from the game.
It would be $70 up front and then $1 per hour. Because you're buying the license to the game and then you're paying to play the game.
So, okay, CEO.
I mean, to be fair, I think Steam and Xbox both have the 2 hour. If it's under 2 hours of playtime, you can return the.
Yeah,
and Ian only plays
copy.
3 hours of a game, so if you could shave that hour off.
No. It's not 3 hours. I've refunded mini games, so I'm definitely playing them less than 3 hours.
What were multiple times this year, Tom? Ian has loved a game, said he's made it 3 hours in, and he's probably never going to play it again.
I love that game. Yeah,
that should be a T-shirt, Ian.
You know what? I'm an old man, and if I've got my enjoyment out of it, I'm moving on.
Listen, you don't have much life left, so you might as well make use of it while you're here.
Exactly, and play more Factorio and VTOL VR. Yeah.
Finally, the RetroTINK-4.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
They finally announced the price. It's $750, which I want to say, Will, you exactly guessed that, didn't you?
I'm pretty sure I did exactly guess that.
Yeah. So basically, if you're not familiar with the RetroTINK, it, again, give me a little leeway here, but basically it is a box that you can plug VGA, SCART, RCA, composite component into it from your old retro consoles, and it will upscale that to 4K. And I've been watching the development of this. I've been seeing some videos, seeing some images come out of this, and it's looks fantastic. A lot of these consoles, they look bad if you just hook them up to your TV, your modern TV directly. They barely look a little bit better if you buy one of those $30 or $40 like HDMI cables for your N64. Still looks pretty bad. Even if you go like the OSSC route, which I have, you're still probably going to have to either mod your console or buy $40 to $50 cables for your console to hook up to the OSSC properly. So this is like a wonder box where it's like plug your old console in and boop, you're going to get a fantastic 4K image out of this. And it's pretty cool. Will, are you going to buy one?
Ian, I did just sign up for notifications.
Really? Because see, for me, $750 is too much. That's the thing that kills me.
But I can pay in 4 interest-free payments of $187.50 using PayPal. So.
Ooh, over how much time for? You know what? This is dangerous. This is dangerous.
There are 4 interest-free payments over the 4 seconds after you've purchased it.
Yes.
Immediately, boom, 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 boom. This is a device I've been keeping my eye on because, like I said, I've started retro collecting. In fact, let me just do one of these. I'll show you what I got. Never mind the mess. But
that looks good. I like the angled display.
Yeah, so I 3D printed all those angles. So we've got PS2, PS1. The PS2 is actually my old Slim. NES is my girlfriend's old NES, and the N64, same thing. I got an SNES. It was what I wanted to do was like get something that was broken and fix it, because like part of it was like restoring and preservation. So I found someone who was selling one, and they're like, yeah, just like the cartridge like reader is the something need to be replaced in that. And I was trying to fix it, and I shorted the motherboard, and it
Nice.
turns out Nintendo motherboard replacements very expensive, and actually like to get a replacement SNES board was like twice the cost of like me just buying an SNES. So I ended up just buying another one, which really sucked. And then I actually picked up a Sega Genesis. I've never owned one, so I've got one now. We're gonna play. I bought the only game I bought for it. It came with. There's a digital press near you.
Yes, digital press, fantastic.
So great, and what I love about them. This is a little plug for them, not sponsored, but they bundle their console. So it's like it's a box, and we put a console in there. We put a controller, and there's a free game. So I got Risk for the Sega Genesis for free.
Fuck yeah.
And then I bought the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie game. If you can't tell, I'm a big Power Rangers fan, and so part of the retro collection, I'm trying to collect all of the Power Rangers video games. And
it's good to have a plan.
It is. I know. I told the guy when I went to the store, I was like, let me look at my list. And he's like, oh, a list is dangerous. And I'm like, no, not having a list is dangerous, because then I'm just like, oh, I'll buy this and that.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, Will. Yeah.
No, you're good. You're so polite. I see. You steamroll right over me, baby. I have that list too. Like when we went to the retro game convention in Hartford. When was that? August, Ian? I was looking for Alundra 2 for the PlayStation 1, and I was looking for Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation 1. And I wanted it like under $100, or for Metal Gear Solid's a different story, but for Alundra 2. And nobody had it, and I was pissed, but I said, you know what? At least I had it. And then we did get to see, I wish I had bought it, but that incredible 2-pack game for the Xbox, the original Xbox, was Attack of the Clones, Star Wars Attack of the Clones, and Tetris. The two pinnacles of gaming.
2 in 1.
Titans.
I still regret they had in the auction section, they had that HD DVD drive for the Xbox 360 and like 10 games with it. And I was like, the problem was it was an auction and they had like a complicated sign up form. And I was like, if you just told me the price, if you just said this was 100, I would buy that sucker in a second.
I'm excited for this OSS.
The RetroTINK. Yeah. But I was gonna say I've been keeping my eye on the upscaler stuff, because I was like, well, do I get a CRT? And I was like, fuck that. I'm not doing this shit. I'm not even like, even if someone gave me one for free, I'm not fucking keeping that in the fucking apartment. Like,
too big.
It's
I didn't show you my CRT, did I?
I might have peaked it. I'm sure your wife is very happy about you owning that. But I picked up I actually just picked up like a 1080p like portable monitor for it.
Nice.
So it's like a 20-inch just LCD, because I'm not going to be playing these games on these consoles constantly. I'm just there to like preserve it and maybe check them out. But I've been keeping my eye on the RetroTINK and seeing that come out. Look, it's cheaper than everyone thought it would be, but it's still 4 payments of $187.
That's a lot, yeah. But it's, when I think about if you want to hook up multiple retro consoles to a modern TV, like, fuck me, unless you're going the Mister route, which is not having the consoles themselves, this is probably the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Because the OSSC was still like $200 plus cables, so it's not a cheap game to get into.
Yeah. I found you can make, I mean, if you know how, there's something you can buy and you can 3D print a case for it and all that. But you can basically build like a 1080p only 1080p upscaler for like $50, and I've definitely thought about just like messing around with that. And like in the video comparisons I've seen, it's comparable to like the OSSC 1080p upscaler. So I'm thinking about that, but there's something about the RetroTINK that's like, man, but if I drag this out from my OLED in the living room, like that might be really fucking
We
tight.
could split it. I could spend weekends at your
Oh yeah.
It's genuinely not a
I'm
bad
telling you
idea.
this. I'm telling you this.
Yeah.
We split it. It comes spends a weekend at my apartment. Whatever weekend you need it back, I'm out. I'm not here.
Yeah.
I'm away. Sorry, I'm gone. I'm at my folks. I like to go to my parents a lot, so you know, you'll just have to.
I'll just give me a key to your apartment. I can just pop by.
No,
and figure it out.
it's we don't have keys. It's a digital lock, and the guest pass system thing is not reliable on this.
Oh fuck, guys!
What?
I was being naughty. I was browsing Twitter. You will not believe what I just came across.
Wait, did Bob Barker die again?
No.
What's going on?
Ian, I forgot to tell you, Matthew Perry died at my Halloween party, and it was like the Bob Barker moment.
That's awkward. Did you call the police? Like, you had a pool at your party?
Jacuzzi.
Folks, the OSSC Pro is now in stock and available to purchase.
Oh no!
I don't even know what the specs are of this, but it's a 360. It's $360. It goes to 1440p, which is pretty good. I don't know. Just crazy to come across this after the RetroTINK talking about it. So this could be a good middle option. I don't know. You'd have to look at it.
No,
That's a con. Do you have a RetroTINK already?
No, I don't have anything actually. Surprisingly,
Yeah.
I have the shitty retro cables that I use for the GameCube, SNES, and N64, and then the I have PS1 ones as well.
Mm-hmm. You know what I do have that actually works surprisingly well. I got it for like half off. So GameStop one morning, like 4 years ago, I woke up and Wario 64 was like, "Hey, retro consoles half off at GameStop." And I was like, "Fuck!" So I go to GameStop and I get this fucking Pikachu N64 and an Eon HDMI converter for the N64 for $150 total.
Holy fuck!
And that Eon HDMI converter to 1080p for the N64, which basically is like a block that plugs in to the back of the N64, and then you plug in HDMI to that. It's pretty fucking good, folks. So if you're just looking at a specific console like an N64, I think they may have one for the Genesis too or something, and you see those Eon HDMI adapters, they're pretty good. I think they're normally like 125 or 150. It's pretty good if you're okay with the one console solution, if you're using that console a lot.
Yeah, I have that great.
Damn,
the other reason I want
150. Fuck.
I know.
Yeah.
Do they do the half off retro console thing regularly? Or?
I haven't seen it since then. And the thing that fucking blew my mind was that they had they just had black. They had black N64s, and then they had like this in stock for the same fucking price. And I was like, you idiots, that Pikachu one is worth at least like $250 on its own.
Yeah.
Why the fuck are you selling it for $75? And it was fantastic. It was a good deal.
The other reason I want that RetroTINK is because I have that sick ass switcher I bought last Extra Life in Florida. The like mechanical switcher for old style component cables. Right?
Yeah.
And
I think it was component and composite. Isn't it like a 5-to-1?
Yeah, actually,
switcher?
You're right. I think it might have been 5-to-1 switcher. So get one of those
crazy.
up and running. Just duct tape them together. Be perfect. That's the news for the lovely day that is today. Finally, final segment of the show. It's the nude segment. Everybody take your clothes. No. Wish list spotlight. It's where we spotlight a wish list game. Mostly a real indie game here, folks. None of those Dave the Diver shitheads from Nexon. This is real.
I wanted to be clear. The devs are not shitheads. Subpixel does not. I know this isn't my podcast, but I'm taking it.
And Tom says it too. He wrote me he's texting me right now saying it's not his voice saying that. Folks, this is Horticulture on on Steam. You have been magically summoned by mysterious gnomes to restore a long-lost garden, attract adorable animals, build a lush environment, and immerse yourself in the relaxing garden builder. Will you manage to reclaim the wasteland to succumb to illuminating competition? Don't forget to use code SUP. No, there's no code. I just saw this game on Twitter. I thought it looked super fun. It's like it evokes, it's gardening, it's horticulture, but it evokes the plants from Roller Coaster Tycoon to me, and it just looks like the gardening part of Roller Coaster Tycoon.
I was gonna say that's what it looks like,
which is super fun. So if you like the looks of that without the coaster part, have fun. And apparently there's an animal ecosystem as well, immersive world and magic. I like gnomes, so go check this out. Horticulture, it's on Steam. Give them a wish list. There's also a demo, so go check out the demo. If you're watching this, there's a link in the YouTube video. So,
I know this has absolutely nothing to do with this specific thing, but tickets for The Boy and the Heron have gone on sale. If anyone's trying to go see it. I just bought December 10th. Brooke can't hear me.
Oh, fuck.
I just bought tickets, so I'm just
Wait,
putting it out
buy
there.
Tickets to? Why didn't you say Will? You want to see
You
that
want
movie
to come?
desperately.
It's in the city. It's in the city.
It's in the city.
Yeah, because my friend from Long Island's gonna come out and watch it with us.
Oh, I don't want your friend from Long Island's the worst.
I just want to say thank you for reminding me, because Godzilla -1 comes out in the US starting on November 30th, and I need to buy tickets for that.
Wait, why are there show times for November 22nd?
For Boy and the Heron?
Yeah.
It's having a select few screenings at like indie theaters.
Well,
so if you want to go
select it.
But the problem is that it's coming out in like IMAX and like big formats in like, so I was gonna try and go to the November 22nd screenings, but it's like at Nighthawk, and I'm like, I'm not watching this movie on one of those. Like, I'm sorry.
Well,
it's not happening.
text me the deets, and I'll see if I can.
Okay.
I can go with you. That trailer came out, and I
didn't watch it. I had to watch your fucking edits of it, and like it would pop up on my fucking thing. But I was like, I'm trying to avoid as much as possible. I wish I lived in Japan, because they were just like, fuck it, you're not gonna see a fucking lick of this film.
Yeah.
And I know that they can't do that for the US release because Ghibli ubiquity is not like it is in Japan. I know they had to market this film. I really wish they didn't, because everything I've seen about it, I'm like, I'm so glad I've seen so little. Like, I've not even watched.
I will say those trailers have barely showed anything.
Yeah.
That first trailer came out, and at work they were like, "Hey, do you want to cut together all the things these scenes evoke from past Ghibli films?" And
at first you're like, fuck you.
Yeah, at first I was like, fuck you, and not to toot my own horn, but I nailed it, because I love Ghibli, and I've seen it shit ton. So those have been super fun, but there's been 2 trailers out so far, and I still have no idea what's going on in that movie, and I'm very excited about that, because they like in this latest trailer they cut to stuff, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, what is happening here? Like, what are you getting at? So I'm very excited for it. Folks, that's gonna be the show. I'm gonna hit the outro button, and then we're gonna get out of here. That gives us 60 seconds for me to plug everything and everyone. And okay, we're gonna do it. I'm gonna hit the button. Folks, this has been Local Chat, episode 148. Joining me this week was the lovely and beautiful and talented Tom Caswell from GameStop. He's from GameSpot. Tom, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, my personal handle is Great Britom on any platform. I'm still Twitter is my still most used one /X. But go check out the Unranked podcast, which is the podcast that I do. We just celebrated 400 episodes. So
wow,
yeah. And we did it in a VR video game. So it was Walkabout Mini Golf VR, which is one of our favorite, most played games of the year. We actually interviewed the lead developer on that in the game itself. It was very cool. So go check that out.
Nice. That's awesome. I've got 5 seconds to tell you that subpixelfilms.com. I love you. Bye. See you next week. Bye.